Okay, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are. Thanks for attending this very short talk on the I Ching. My name is Hakyo, and just for an introduction, I will. I am getting stuck again. I don't understand. It's always this, although I had, let me see. So let me get this thing working again. I'm so sorry, folks. It is, yeah, I think I better keep it this way. So as a very short introduction, I'm Hakyo and I'm an energy healer. I use Reiki and blue energy, but I use blue energy like 95% of the time because I think I am more connected with blue, and written 2 books. I'm a medical intuitive, meaning that I can make diagnosis by just tuning into your energy. So I also do feng shui on site and also via Zoom. And today I'm talking about the I Ching. Now, it is without doubt the most influential book in the whole of Chinese civilization. It is the most profound. And the influence the I Ching has, it has gone beyond Chinese culture and is the most widely translated work, Chinese work. You may be surprised to know that there were 3 Nobel Prize winners who credit to using the I Ching in helping them to discover new things in physics. And they are Yang Chenning in physics, Li Sudao also in physics, Hideki Yukawa from Japan, and I believe is also in physics. What Yang Chenning has said was it helped in his calculation of his experiments, and he used the I Ching very often to help him arrive at some of the answers of his experiments. So you can see that if you are able to use the I Ching, then it will help you a lot to answer a lot of your questions. This is just an example of the I Ching, which has got the 64 hexagrams. Now, this is called a hexagram. 3 of the lines alone is called a trigram. So in a hexagram, you have an upper trigram and a lower trigram. And the 64 hexagrams actually corresponds to the 64 codons of the human DNA. So as you can see then that it has profound wisdom in it. Now let's go back into history a little bit. Fu Xi, he was actually the founder of Chinese civilization. He was the first person to have written the original 8 trigrams around 4,500 years ago. He was an ancient ruler and a very, very keen observer, meaning you can say scientist in our terms today. It was said that he spotted the dragon horse leaping out from the Yellow River with very special markings on his back. And he noted down those markings, and it becomes the He2 river map, which is actually an esoteric energy map. comprising of numbers. And through self-examination, which also means meditation, he drew the 8 trigrams and linked it to nature. And because of Fu Xi discovery of the I Ching, many branches of Chinese metaphysics come out of it. And Feng Shui is one of those branches. King Wen in around 1100 before Christ, so about 3,000 years later, after Fu Xi, Jishan, who became the first emperor of the Zhou dynasty, was the one who created the 64 hexagrams and added meanings to it while he was in jail for 7 years. So you can see how the divine intervened, because if he wasn't in jail for 7 years with plenty of time, like we have now in the lockdowns, he wouldn't be able to invent the 64 hexagrams, okay? So he was jailed by the King Zhao, the last ruler of the Shang dynasty. And it was in jail that he meditated, and he got inspiration and divine help in creating the real 64 hexagrams that we are using now. So, and then Confucius is also linked to the I Ching, and about 500 years later, then he added more knowledge to the I Ching, and it was called the chapter on the 10 wings. So Confucius also had used his knowledge and expertise to improve and comment on the I Ching. Then we have this ruler called Shi Huangti in about 246 BC. He was the first emperor of the Qin dynasty, if you remember, and he was the one who ordered the famous burning of the books. But he made an exception to the I Ching, and thus the I Ching would survive. This sentence here is very, very significant. Why did he burn almost every book, literature, medical, history, cultural books, except the I Ching? I don't know the reason, but I think it's by divine intervention that he made an exception to the I Ching. However, some historians say that the warlord of Zhou burned his palace down later, and with it, the original copy of the I Ching ? Because what happens, really, nobody knows. And this is another of the mystery of the I Ching. There were other I Ching books, and in the Xia dynasty is called Yuanshan, around 1600 before Christ. In the Shang dynasty it was called Weizhang, and but these two versions, unfortunately, were lost forever to the world. In the Han dynasty, about 206 BC, the I Ching was promoted as a Confucius classic. So it is becoming to be more important in ancient Chinese culture and civilization. And Kang Fong invented the King Wen oracle system. This is what most Feng Shui masters use when they do calculation in the I Ching. And I originally used and followed this method of King Wen. However, after several years of practice, I found that it was very complicated, very tedious, but of course it is more versatile, and I can gain more information. In fact, if I use King Wen's method, I can do feng shui without going to the place. I can make up the trigrams and read the front door, energies of the front door, the back portion of the house, the bedroom and the kitchen. It is as complicated as that, and you can just calculate it using the King Wen method of oracle calculation. But it is tedious. It takes more than 2+ hours for me, and I think very experienced feng shui masters, of course, they can do much faster. So Liu Bak-wan written the Golden Rules on the oracle system, and this is all very ancient classics, and not easy to read, even though if you know ancient Chinese. Now, in the ancient Chinese history, the practical use of the I Ching was demonstrated by these few people. Li Jing, who was a general who helped establish the Tang dynasty. Now, being a general, of course, he goes to wars. He has to do planning. He has got to make sure that if he goes into a battle, he must win. And what day, what time, what conditions would bring him victory is all available if you know how to use the I Ching. This is my favorite person in history of China, Zhuge Liang. He was the great military strategist in the period of the Three Kingdoms. That means around 220 to 280 AD. And in the book of the Three Kingdoms, you can read a lot of the adventures of Zhuge Liang and how he was a master military strategist, and wherever he had gone into the battle, I think he's got a very good record of how he won so much of the battles, even when the soldiers are lesser in numbers with the enemy soldiers. So this is a brief introduction to see how great the I Ching is. So most of these great masters, Zhang Liang and Jiang Ziya, Zhuge Liang, they were all also feng shui masters. They were all also very good in I Ching, and therefore they were able to help the emperor in battles or subduing any uprising. So if you know how to use the I Ching, it is a very great advantage. Now I'm going to start about my story about I Ching. It all began while I was working in London, and I did a divination for a friend's sister. And that was it, you know. My friend asked me, please help the sister to make some decisions. And I said, okay, give me 1 day. And then when I did the calculations, I went back to him and I said, well, this is what's going to happen. And basically it was all good news for the sister who had to make a big decision. And then I left it at that. So after a while, we went separate ways. And a couple of years later, I met this doctor friend of mine. And he told me that the calculations I did for his sister was accurate. And the whole family was so happy. And they invited me over for dinners. I had so much wonderful time with them. You know, lots of dinners, Christmas, and so on. So, and I said to myself, hey, this is not a playful thing, man. This is serious, you know. And I was just like experimenting with it, and then I made some people so happy with the good decisions. So I better look into it. So I then made a lot of experimental calculations in I Ching to answer my many questions. And I did so many, I became, well, quite proficient in it. And one day I was asking just to see my understanding and also how accurate I am. And I began to ask a lot of very nonsensical questions, honestly, until I got scolded by the I Ching. Now, the way I Ching scolded me was, again, the I Ching way, because when I make the calculation, well, I got the trigrams, I got the hexagrams. Then when I interpret it, it was totally out of sync with the main question. And then in one of the lines, it was specifically written in the ancient I Ching book about don't be playful and treat it with respect. And since that day, honestly, I stopped playing the fool with the I Ching. I began to respect it. I only use it when necessary because my calculations were getting okay, no problems, might be slow and tedious, but I was okay. So, and because of that experience and many other experience, actually, I begin to see that I Ching is sort of alive. It communicates with me. I form a relationship. Now, relationship is very important. I mean, you can study the I Ching under the greatest masters, or maybe you can even be good at this calculation, but slowly you will get off track because you never respect it. You never form a personal relationship, and therefore it responds to you. So the esoteric world works in this way. You must not only have the academic knowledge, but it is spiritual as well. So this is what I found out. So my I Ching training began, and I read a lot of books, but they were all useless, honestly, okay? All those books that I could get my hands on, it never improved my understanding. It never taught me how to calculate in detail. And because most of the masters, number one, probably they won't tell you everything. Number two, probably they also don't understand much. And number three, you just cannot use it as an academic pursuit, all right? So I went to try to learn from several Hong Kong Feng Shui masters, but oh, their fees were astronomical. And I also met a master, Feng Shui master from China, with super fast calculation, just like the computer. I met this Chinese master in a Feng Shui international meeting in Singapore, and he went up on stage. And remember, we were all Feng Shui masters, and people, well-known Hong Kong masters, were asking him questions, and he would calculate just using by his fingers. All right. Imagine I had trouble memorizing the 64 hexagrams, and I really can't remember all, honestly, but he could calculate it on his fingers and tell the answers within a few seconds. That is incredible. That is how good some of these real masters from China, are. Then I managed to learn the authentic King Wen method from one of the Feng Shui masters, but it was still very frustrating because I couldn't understand much, and it deals with a lot of parallel or many other knowledge, and I need to keep researching. I need to keep reading, but it still didn't help me in my confidence in being accurate in the calculation. So in my quest, finally, I mastered a method, and I say here with the help of heaven indeed, but I will not go into the details here. It's pretty personal. So here goes. Now, this is one of the most authoritative book in the I Ching. It was first published in 1921, translated from the Chinese by the German, with Carl Jung as written a chapter in the foreword. It is so difficult to read. In fact, I gave up and I stopped reading from this huge encyclopedic book of knowledge. It just confuses me more, and I didn't make any headway. But remember one thing, I have a story regarding with this book. I lent this book to a ex school principal of mine, that was more than 20, 30 years ago. And I didn't get it back because he passed away. And I said, well, never mind. Anyway, it was such a difficult book to read. However, many years later, a friend of mine, a fellow Feng Shui student, he said, I give you this book. I don't need it. So I said, okay, thank you very much. I lost one and I'm getting it back. Although I don't really use it per se, but sometimes I refer to this book. And energetically, this book actually has a lot of power, a lot of energy, if you can detect energy. Now, how can I help you with the I Ching divination? Is this presentation is all about, since you are having a little bit of a background about the I Ching. I now use a super fast method by connecting myself with my spirit guides. Oh yeah, okay. I think Terry really knows about that. And my accuracy usually is about 80%, with about 1.5% of error when I use this super fast method. But for best divination and accuracy, I would use the I Ching, because the accuracy of I Ching is 100%. However, sorry, I just well, sometimes all these things happen. But if I make a mistake, it is 0% accurate. All right. So in the issues where I really need to know more than my super fast method, or to confirm my super fast method by connecting with my spirit guides, I would use the I Ching. So, in fact, actually, any burning questions can be answered. Okay? Questions like, for example, job. You're going for an interview. Will you get any promotions? Or should you change your job? is a question, right? Personal life. For the single people, is this the right life partner? It's very important, right? Or is a divorce a better solution? Those who are married. Or is it better to migrate? You know, these are huge, huge questions. You need some guidance. Or in business, is this the correct business partner? Or will you get this big project? Or you are caught in the law? Will I win this court case? You know, should I take this case to court? And so on and so forth. This is where the I Ching comes in very, very useful. So finally, do you have a US $6 million question? But to donate only $47 to get an answer to a $6 million question. You just ask me, all right? I will do the calculations for you. I will analyze the situation, and I will let you know the answer. So finally, to those who are interested to get in touch with me, this is my email. And I also have a Facebook page, those of you into Facebook. It is called Healing Hands of Blue Energy, Master Hokyo. There are several other Facebook pages with just Healing Hands. So make sure you get this page actually, all right? So this is the end of my presentation, which is very short, and I hope you have a better and clearer picture of the power of the ancient wisdom called I Ching, and that I may be able to help you answer your $6 million question. So are there any questions from any one of you? I'll be happy to answer.
Oh, I do.
Oh, yeah.
If you don't mind. I just recently had a job interview 2 days ago. The lady said she would get back to me on Tuesday when she returns, next Tuesday. And I just see whether it's a good job to have and whether I will get it.
Oh.
It's for a senior role.
All right, all right. Okay, Carrie, you know how to contact me, so I need, of course, a lot of details, personal details, so that will help me in the calculations. And what I'll do actually for everyone who consult me is I'll do first my fast method. I contact with my spirit guides, get an answer, and then I'll do the I Ching calculation to see whether these answers correspond and whether I can get more insight from the I Ching. Okay?
Yep.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
Oh, most welcome. You just contact me, Carrie. No problems. Anybody about any burning questions right now? Or you can even contact me later if you know how. No problems. So, actually, we can wrap it up in another 2 or 3 minutes. Therefore, I thank all of you for attending this very short talk within some short notice. And then for those who are seeing it on later on in some platform that I will upload this little discussion, you all can also connect me either by email and you know, get a consultation or whatnot and so on. And my latest advice is, number one, especially those of you who know how to do this, and special note to Carrie, whenever you go out from now onwards, envelope yourself with a violet flame. Number two, it seems that the light forces are just about to begin to win the battle, but not yet. All right, things are expected to change super fast. Number three, on Monday the 21st is the solstice. I put up a YouTube video on how to do the meditation to help to increase the vibration of planet Earth and make everything much, much better. And so these are just a few little updates. And then pay attention to dream time. Pay attention to your dream, because last night I had a fantastic dream, and it shows me a little bit of my future. All right. So with that, I thank all of you who are able to turn up at short notice. And once again, thank you very much. Get in touch with me, and God bless. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Hawk. Bye.
Yeah,
Talk
bye.
soon. Talk to you later.
Sure.